President Trump says the U.S. won't send troops to disarm Hamas, but will keep supporting Israel. Gaza's health ministry says it has received 30 more detainees' bodies from the Red Cross. And a Hamas spokesperson says Gaza's post-war leadership must be purely Palestinian without outside interference.
And then, of course, we have the host tonight, and I just want to thank you very much. It was a reason we chose Egypt, because you were very helpful, and very, very helpful. Everybody wanted to have this, but we really thought it was appropriate, and you are a great leader. And he's a fantastic man and a fantastic general, by the way. But he's a great president, and I want to thank Egypt and all of your representatives for treating us all so well. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Q News. I'm Mark Summers. It's 4 o'clock Cairo time. US President Donald Trump says the United States will not need to deploy its military to disarm Hamas, adding that Washington remains deeply involved in supporting Israel under the Gaza ceasefire deal. Speaking in the Oval Office, President Trump told reporters that Hamas is continuing to locate and return the bodies of deceased hostages under the ongoing truce. He described the process as gruesome, saying some remains were found beneath rubble and in underground tunnels. Trump said all living detainees have been returned and that the next phase involves Hamas surrendering its weapons as part of the peace plan. He added that the US and Israel have worked closely together throughout the operation, including intercepting drones targeting Israel, and insisting that American military intervention will not be necessary.
It's a horrible atrocity. At the same time, we, meaning Israel, but I knew everything they were doing pretty much. I knew most of the things they were doing, but they've killed probably 70,000 of these people, Hamas. And I said, it's time now. So we'll see what happens. We'll also see what happens. Your next question is going to be the weapons. We want the weapons to be...
Gaza's health ministry says it has received the bodies of 30 Palestinian detainees from the International Committee of the Red Cross. In a statement, the Gaza Health Ministry confirmed that medical teams are working to examine and identify the bodies before handing them over to families in accordance with established procedures. The ministry said the transfer was made through the International Committee of the Red Cross as part of the ongoing process of returning Palestinian detainees' remains. It added that the identification work continues amid difficult conditions across the Gaza Strip. A Hamas spokesperson says Gaza's post-war governance must be led by Palestinians without external interference. Speaking to Chinese global television network, Hazem Qasim stressed that Palestinians are capable of managing their own affairs and rejected any foreign involvement. In his interview with CGTN, Hamas spokesperson Hazem Qasim said many points in US President Donald Trump's peace plan remain contentious and require further discussion among Palestinians. He emphasized that Gaza's future governance should be determined solely by Palestinians through international and internal consultation and mutual understanding. Qasim urged mediators, including Egypt, Qatar and the United States, to provide strict security guarantees, warning that Israel has repeatedly failed to honor previous agreements. Fuel and aid trucks bound for Gaza were seen moving from Egypt's Rafah crossing on Thursday today as Israel prepared to reopen the main entry points following the return of more Israeli bodies by Hamas under a fragile ceasefire. Aid convoys carrying fuel, tents and cooking supplies rolled into Gaza, signaling progress after days of tension that threatened the truce. Israel had warned it could keep the Rafah crossing closed and limit aid deliveries, accusing Hamas of delaying the return of detainees' bodies. Hamas has since handed over several remains, prompting Israeli officials to begin reopening the crossing and allowing up to 60 aid trucks to enter. The Gaza war has left nearly all residents displaced, with famine confirmed by global monitors and health facilities on the brink of collapse. UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher, has received and arrived in Egypt's northern Sinai to assess relief operations and medical preparations for receiving injured Palestinians from Gaza. During his visit, Fletcher inspected Al Arish General Hospital to review its readiness to treat wounded Palestinians. He also toured aid storage facilities in Al Arish and the Rafah border crossing to oversee the flow of humanitarian supplies into Gaza. The visit comes as international organizations continue efforts to expand medical and relief support for civilians affected by the ongoing conflict, with Egypt serving as a central hub for aid coordination. UNRWA spokesperson Adnan Abu Hasna says the agency remains the backbone of humanitarian operations in Gaza and must lead the response to the ongoing crisis. Abu Hasna warned that Israel continues to block the entry of both food and non-food aid into the Gaza Strip, despite some 6,000 trucks waiting at the crossings. He cautioned that humanitarian suffering will persist even under the current ceasefire if access restrictions are not lifted. The UN agency has repeatedly called for safe and unhindered passage of aid convoys, stressing that UNRWA plays a central role in supporting displaced Palestinians and coordinating international relief efforts in the enclave. The World Health Organization says providing fuel and heavy equipment to rebuild Gaza's destroyed hospitals remains a top priority amid the ongoing ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. WHO Regional Director Hanan Balkhi stressed the urgent need to deliver medical supplies, medicines, equipment and fuel to ensure immediate relief for Palestinians. She said restoring Gaza's health infrastructure is essential to sustain emergency care and humanitarian operations. The organization is coordinating with international partners to expand access to life-saving aid as hospitals across the enclave struggle with severe shortages and extensive damage caused by months of bombardment.
And of course with the Palestinian Red Crescent and the Ministry of Health.
A Palestinian was killed and several others were seriously wounded in an Israeli drone strike targeting the town of Bani Suhaila, east of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Medical sources in Gaza confirmed that another Palestinian from the Nuseirat refugee camp died of wounds sustained 3 weeks ago, raising the death toll over the past 2 days to more than 14. The latest attack comes amid continued Israeli drone strikes across southern Gaza as emergency crews struggle to recover victims under heavy bombardment and ongoing displacement in the enclave. Gaza's health ministry says hospitals have received 29 bodies and 10 wounded in the past 24 hours, bringing the death toll from Israel's assault on the enclave to almost 68,000. That's according to the Gaza Health Ministry. The total number of victims since the beginning of the war has reached 67,967 dead and 170,179 injured. The ministry said hospitals continue to operate under extreme pressure with severe shortages of medical supplies and fuel. It added that rescue crews are still recovering casualties from beneath rubble as Israeli bombardment persists across several areas of the Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to continue pursuing the objectives of the war and pledged that Israel will return the remains of all killed detainees, warning that anyone who tries to harm them will pay a heavy price. Netanyahu affirmed Israel's commitment to recovering and returning the bodies of those killed in the conflict, saying the government will pursue its military aims until those objectives are met. He insisted that Israel will hold accountable anyone who threatens the safe return of detainees' remains. The remarks come amid ongoing exchanges over body returns and ceasefire implementation, as mediators and regional actors continue diplomatic efforts to stabilize the enclave and deliver humanitarian aid. The Houthis in Yemen have announced the death of Chief of Staff Mohammed Abdul Karim al-Gamari. The announcement comes after Israel's broadcaster revealed that al-Gamari had survived an Israeli assassination attempt during a secret meeting in the Yemeni capital Sana'a, noting that he had sustained serious injuries. Now, for more, we go to Mona, who's in our newsroom. Mona.
Thank you so much, Mark. And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by political science professor Ayman Al-Raqab. Welcome to Qnews. And let me ask you, sir, about how fragile is the ceasefire? Can it hold for the next stage? And to what reasons do you attribute that?
Of course, good evening, everyone. We are talking about the first phase, which was considered one of the clearest phases. They handed over the alive and deceased detainees, and then now Israel is trying to escape full commitment to this agreement. They are not allowing humanitarian trucks to enter, as was agreed upon, at least not all of them. And then also there are lots of obstacles when it comes to trying to get to the next phases. But I think that they can get after this. They're talking about the bodies, and this is their justification, but it is hard to release all of them. And so there are around thousands of Palestinians under the rubble, and then there are some talks that lots of those detainees were murdered in the war. And so in Sharm el-Sheikh summit, lots of things were discussed, and everyone knows that getting all the detainees is very hard, and then the Palestinians and also the Americans have agreed. But now I think that even that there are some points when it comes to completing phase one, especially with Netanyahu's speeches and Trump that said that if Hamas does not comply, there will be consequences, even though the issue is not Hamas, it is the arms that Israel has, and also disarming Hamas was not discussed so far. And so, yeah, I don't think that that all the parties don't want the war to come back. Israel saw isolation internationally, and so I don't think that the war will come back again.
Then what's your take on Israel's attempts to violate the ceasefire in Gaza?
We saw in the past days their attempts to breach the agreement with everything that happened in Khan Yunis and other areas as well. We saw that some were killed, and their justification was that they were attacked first, and that those were the people that came to the red zones that were not discussed in the yellow lines in the agreement. But there is a ceasefire, and so the occupation forces don't have the right to fire at them. This is unacceptable at all, of course. This is not logical at all when we're talking about stopping the war. And then they also talked about the number of the detainees released, and they haven't released the full number that was agreed upon. And yeah, they still have some of the detainees, and Hamas has said that they don't want to take the responsibility of ruining this agreement, but Israel did not comply with stopping the firing or handing over all the detainees. And President Sisi, he wanted to stop everything, that all the atrocities that we're doing.
Right, but then Israel claims that Hamas is obstructing the return of the bodies of the Israeli detainees. So what do you have on that?
Of course, this is not true, because in the agreement, the bodies were discussed. They were told to be 28 bodies, but then Hamas said that they have information that there is that the number is actually different. But then technically they are doing it now, and so yes, we have thousands of Palestinians under the rubble, and not just the 28 that they were talking about. And so from the start of war up till now, they were killed in the war in 48 and 67. They were said to be 167 martyrs that they could not find. And so in a place like Gaza, this number will be more, of course. And so add to this that some of the people that were keeping the detainees were actually also killed in the war. And so yes, and so this was discussed in the Sharm el-Sheikh summit, and they talked about what happened on the 7th of October, and they said that the alternative mechanism will be that they will call upon the mediators, Qatari, Egyptian and Turkish mediators, and with the help of US, and that they will try to locate the bodies using advanced technology, especially that the Israeli soldiers have like some necklace or some device under their skin so that they can be located. And so yeah, they have some kind of known places, of course, that they know that the bodies are there. And maybe there are bodies in the red zone that the resistance cannot reach, and so they are holding some some bodies. And so Hamas said that as long as they can reach more information and get the detainees.
If I may ask you here, now the US president has given some statements during the past 2 days. Now, how do you interpret the US president's statements, particularly regarding the beginning of the second phase of this agreement?
President Trump talked on the 14th that phase 2 has started, but Netanyahu said that phase 2 will not start unless they get all the bodies. Phase 2 will include disarming Hamas and withdrawal of forces from almost all of the Gaza Strip, and then delivering more aid. But the occupation forces are refusing this and saying that phase 2 starts with the last body that will be released. And then the next thing is how to get over this. You know that if we move on to phase 2, and if they talk about disarming Hamas, there will be a security gap, and this is what Netanyahu wants. And then maybe he can Like again, we saw what happened 4 days ago and also 2 days ago, the attacks and everything. And so even moving on from phase 1 to phase 2 needs deep talks with a clear vision on how to transition smoothly from phase 1 to phase 2, and how will Hamas will withdraw from the security landscape and will comply. And so entering phase 2 needs Israeli steps and approval. And so up till now, the US has not really pressured Israel. Yes, President Trump has talked about a ceasefire and saying that Hamas will take over in this phase, and this is good, but up till now they don't really have or are putting pressure on Israel, and so the US needs to live up to its role.
Now, Israel has given a decision to reduce the amount of the aid entering into the Gaza Strip, claiming because of this Daytoni bodies crisis. Now, how do you think such a decision would make the ceasefire hold at this upcoming stage?
The Hamas movement have promised the mediators, they have promised Qatar, Egypt and Turkey that they will comply to a ceasefire, but the issue with the Israelis is they don't comply and they breach the agreements. They have agreed on allowing the entry of around 600 Turks, but they are not doing this up till now. They deliver around like 300 trucks, and they are not allowing food to the Palestinians, and so this is causing further distress. And so this is why I said that the US has to pressure Israel to comply and at least finish the humanitarian aid delivery phase to move on to phase 2. As I said today, and as I said actually with what happened yesterday, and so things are moving towards the importance of a real US pressure, and they have to have Israel comply and commit to the 600 trucks a day agreement. And also we have lots of injured in Gaza, and they need urgent operations. And yeah, Egypt has agreed to host them to heal them, but Israel up till now they have not operated the Rafah crossing to allow them to leave, and so the US needs to play its role here.
Right, that was Mr. Dr. Ayman Al-Raqab, political science professor. Thank you so much for being with us, or for joining us here on Q News. And I guess we're back to you in our studio, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mona. Mona Masati there in our newsroom. Now we delve into the latest developments on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia's defense ministry says its forces destroyed 6 Ukrainian unmanned boats in the Black Sea and struck Ukrainian energy infrastructure in response to attacks by Kyiv. In a statement, the Russian defense ministry says its forces used Kinzhal hypersonic missiles to target Ukrainian gas infrastructure facilities. The ministry described these strikes as retaliation for what it called Ukrainian attacks on Russian territory and energy sites. The latest escalation comes amid continued cross-border strikes and drone operations in the Black Sea, where both sides have stepped up naval and aerial activity in recent weeks. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz announced his intention to call for the swift release of frozen Russian assets to provide a €140 billion loan to Ukraine. Merz stated that Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening Europe's security and endangering it through his brutal war on Ukraine. He added that Russia is attempting to destabilize Germany and Europe through sabotage, cyber attacks and espionage.
Flugstunden von hier entfernt einem seit 3,5 Jahren andauernden Krieg Russlands gegen die Ukraine.
More than 100 sausage dogs from Germany, Austria and Switzerland raced for glory in Munich at the third international Dachshund competition. The 40-meter track had no marked lanes, but the fastest dog, Luitpold, completed it in just over 4 seconds, holding his title for a third consecutive year. Races were divided into weight and age categories, including special events for senior and disabled dogs. Organisers said many owners were far more competitive than their pets, with some dogs running straight back to their handlers after the start. The two-day festival also featured dog dancing performances, previewing the upcoming European Dog Dancing Championships, which take place in Hungary next month. Go! I've never seen dog dancing before. How cute. Spain's oldest active chess player, Manuel Alvarez, celebrated his 104th birthday with a special tournament in Madrid, drawing more than 160 participants to honor his lifelong passion for the game. Known affectionately as Don Manuel, the retired engineer has competed in chess for over 8 decades. He began playing at 22 and still participates in tournaments, inspiring generations of Spanish players. At his birthday event, Alvarez played his opening match against a 9-year-old opponent and won after a close game. Organisers described him as a living symbol of endurance and intellect, with international referee Eduardo Lopez saying Alvarez might be the world's oldest active chess player. His recovery from a recent hospital stay made his appearance all the more special, greeted by applause from the Madrid chess community. New York City Comic Con kicked off today with thousands of pop culture fans filling Manhattan's Javits Center for one of the biggest entertainment events on the US East Coast. Organisers expect around 250,000 people to attend the 4-day convention, celebrating comics, anime, film and gaming. Marketing Director Faron Principali said the event remains true to its roots, highlighting artists, writers and a vibrant artist alley where fans can meet creators. Visitors came dressed as their favourite characters, enjoying cosplay contests and celebrity appearances from stars including Sigourney Weaver, Glenn Powell and the cast of K-pop Demon Hunters. For many, Comic-Con is more than a fan gathering, it's a reunion of creative communities and what one attendee called Coming Back to My Tribe. The event runs through to October the 12th. And that's almost all we have time for, but let's recap our main headlines this afternoon. President Trump says the US won't send troops to disarm Hamas, but will keep supporting Israel. Gaza's health ministry says it has received 30 more detainees' bodies from the Red Cross. A Hamas spokesperson says Gaza's post-war leadership must be purely Palestinian without outside interference. And that's all we have for now, but don't forget you can follow Q News on our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNewsEGY. Thanks for watching and stay here for more. In Depth is next here on Q News.